We are going to talk about introductory elements in a sentence. So here I have a sentence, for example. I have the cat took a nap. So my subject is cat and took is my predicate. My complete subject is the cat, and my complete predicate is took a nap. So this is also an independent clause. It's a simple sentence. It has a subject and a predicate. It's a complete idea on its own. But I know that I can take an independent clause and I can add elements to the sentence. For example, I could add to my independent clause, the cat took a nap, I could add the dependent clause, since he was exhausted by his mouse hunt. So here I'm using the subordinate conjunction since. This is going to join my dependent clause to my independent clause. And I have another subject, he, and I have a linking verb predicate, this time was, and that's letting me know what he was, his state of being, that he was exhausted by his mouse hunt is a phrase that tells me more about why he was exhausted. So this complete thing is a dependent clause. And I know that I can take this dependent clause and I can move it to the front of my sentence. And then I can use a comma and switch my capitalization around. So I know that I can put my dependent clause in front of my independent clause. And I can say, since he was exhausted by his mouse hunt, comma, the cat took a nap. And this is what we would call an introductory clause or a complex sentence with a dependent clause first rule. But what I might not know is that there are other things that I can add in front of an independent clause as well. So just like I can add a dependent clause in front of my independent clause, I can also add other things as well. It doesn't have to be a dependent clause. For example, I could add a word. Let's say I add the word first. This is not a part of my independent clause. My independent clause is still the cat took a nap. The cat is still my subject. Took is still my predicate. This is the complete idea on its own. So first is extra. It's an introductory element, and I'm going to separate it from my sentence with a comma. Let's look at another example. Let's say I wanted to add a phrase here at the beginning of my sentence. So I could add something like after his hunt. And again, after his hunt is introductory. It is not a part of my independent clause. My independent clause is still the cat took a nap. And so if I'm going to add it to the front, I'm going to separate it from my independent clause with a comma. After his hunt, by the way, is a phrase. After is working as a preposition. His hunt is a noun. It is not a complete clause or a dependent clause on its own. Let's look at one last example. Let's say I wanted to add peacefully. So describing how he is taking his nap. Peacefully, the cat took a nap. So again, the cat took a nap is still my independent clause. It doesn't need peacefully to be a complete idea on its own, to be a sentence. So peacefully is extra, and because it's extra and it's in the front, I'm going to separate it from my independent clause with a comma. So that is how we use commas to separate introductory elements from the rest of the sentence.